Today we are joined by a dream guest of mine, and I am so excited to have her here. She is someone who spent decades fighting for the most overlooked voices in our country. She has championed women's rights, the LGBTQ community, healthcare, to authoring the first Philippines Mental Health Act, a force to be reckoned with in the Senate, a senator who came from the streets of activism into the halls of legislation without losing her values. Please welcome Senator Risa Hontiveros. Sen Risa, I am so excited to have you here today. So welcome to
Thank
Almost
you.
Honest.
Salamat.
I am such a big fan of yours, and we have worked together since 2017. You've advocated for the mental health bill, but
You advocated for
we
it.
advocated, you advocated for the mental health bill. But I am such a big fan of how you've advocated for women's rights, universal health care, children, the LGBTQ community, and more. And you're one of, to me, the badasses of the Senate. You're
Thank
one of
you,
the
I think.
few women in the Senate who don't really stand for usually the what do you call this? The popular opinion. So, Senator Risa, thank you so much for being here and welcome to Almost Honest.
Thank you for inviting me, Kylie.
Yes.
I'll try to be
Almost
almost,
honest. That's what everyone says, guys. So, I want to explain why almost honest
Sige.
lang of my best capability, but almost honest is because growth happens in life's in betweens. So it's in the moments of the yes and no and your doubts. So, but enough about the
Ganda.
podcast, Senator.
But I love it anyway. Your
Thank
title.
you.
Yeah.
But to be almost honest, I am not the most well versed in politics, but I wanna learn more and get to know a little bit more. Thank you. All I know about it is the ones from I see online or
Yeah.
from what I hear from family gatherings. But I do wanna educate myself a little bit more.
Okay.
So I wanna get to know who was Senator Risa before the politics, and what did young Risa dream of becoming?
Not this.
Not this? Is it so stressful?
Yeah, some days it is. But
I'm sure.
Siyempre, I've learned to love it already. But this is actually my second love. I mean, the activism and the politics. My first love, and which I'm going back to when I'm no longer in formal politics, is really theater and music.
Oh my God, I
Ah.
am so happy.
Yeah.
You were part of this Glee
Sound of
club. Or
Yeah, well, the Glee Club
Glee
in
Club?
in school, Saints Co High School. But outside school, I was with the Repertory Philippines production
Okay.
of Sound of Music with Lea Salonga, Monique Wilson, the Lauchenko siblings. So yun talaga ang first love ko.
So you were into theater arts,
Oo,
the
yes.
performance.
Yes, yes.
What was your specialty? Was it the singing? Was it the
Well, I love singing. That was my entry into auditioning and eventually joining Rep in one of its musical productions.
What do you think was like the peak of your theater career?
Oh my gosh.
Before
I only had that one
you had one.
appearance. Kasi after Sound of Music, I was preparing to audition for the next
Okay.
musical of Repertory. Kaya lang, that summer, ayon, naging aktivista na ako in high school.
What made you want to become part of the NGO or an activist?
One of the first of a series of happy accidents. So that summer, after sophomore year, sa Saints Co Manila nga, Mommy brought me to a symposium of the Nuclear Free Philippines Coalition.
Okay.
So I was so inspired by the women leaders there. Sina Nini Quezon Avancenia, Mary Concepcion Bautista, and Sister Mary John Manansan. Na when I went back to school, the following school year, so junior na, wala, I didn't continue to audition anymore for rep, but formed a group simply called the Nuclear Disarmament Group. Ayun. So mula nun, tuloy-tuloy na. I remained an activist in college, and then upon graduation, fully joined as you said, the NGO world. But I never forgot theater and music.
Do you still long for it
I do.
sometimes?
As I promise, mark my word, babalik ako doon.
Nako,
I will audition for the
Broadway,
Nanay and
Sen.
the,
I will
I
see you
love
in
Broadway
Broadway.
music.
What about
yes.
New York?
Well,
Ganyan.
baka hindi na ako aabot doon. I will audition for PETA here in the
Oh my
Philippines.
God.
What Nanay
They
and
are so
Lola
good.
roles. They are
No?
wonderful. So, Philippine theater talaga.
Is there a dream role in theater you would
Yeah.
like?
Well, roles like, kanina you were mentioning Broadway, roles like Fantine
Okay.
in Les Miserables. I'm not, I'm not young enough anymore to audition for Christine in Phantom of the Opera, pero it has some beautiful songs. And dito sa Pilipinas, roles like Katie,
Okay.
back to Broadway,
Yes.
sina Nora Desmond sa Sunset
Yes.
Boulevard, yung mga ganon. So, yun.
Ang huling El Bimbo?
Oh,
Parang
yung mga-
ganon?
yeah.
Okay.
Diba? There's so many beautiful Filipino
Plays.
musical plays that are continually being produced. At saka ang ganda nung collab nila between the plays and then a certain body of work in
Yes.
music, like sa Huling El Bimbo,
Yes.
or the musical play they did with the music of Apo Hiking Society.
Yes.
And recently, Ben and Ben.
Ang galing.
Diba that film?
What is your favorite kind of music?
So Broadway is definitely one.
Mm.
Top of my list, of course,
PM.
OPM. Tas mga ballads, standards, ganon.
So, Sen, do you sing in the shower?
Yep, of course.
Where do you release this theater?
Ayun, aside from while I'm shampooing, sa mga when we have reunions or solidarity nights kung sa civil society,
Okay.
talagang, well, dahil mga Pilipino tayo,
Mahilig tayo kumanta.
Mahilig kumanta.
and
So, mayat maya there's a
sumayaw.
videoke, or somebody brings a guitar, or kung may piano sa lugar, somebody will sit down and
Yes.
start playing. So, nag-gravitate ako doon para makapag-jamming, para masaya.
I love that.
Yeah.
Would you think your 20-year-old Risa would be
Mhm.
proud of where you are now?
I don't know if she would be proud.
She would be
'cause,
surprised.
at the very least, matutuwa siya. Because, even as a young person, I could appreciate almost anything, even if it was unexpected. Kasi yung 20-year-old Risa, for example, aktivista na nga in college. Oh, and when I was 20, those were the years, that was the year of the People Power Revolution.
Oh, wow.
The 40th anniversary na
Wow.
this year.
Did you
And
join
I was
the
there.
rally?
Oh, I was there with the Ateneo Student Council. And, pero at that time, I would never have imagined that I would become a politician. Aktivista talaga, but not
Okay.
in formal politics. So, I'm not sure she would have been proud. But matutuwa siya and na-interest siya.
We come from the same school.
Same
Wala.
school ka rin?
No,
Ateneo.
Ateneo.
Of course.
And I think your daughters are also
Oo.
from
They
Ateneo.
are. My 3 older kids, including my son. Oo.
Yes, all mga Atenista.
Oo. Anong batch ka?
Nako, oh my God. 2013.
Ah, okay.
14.
Nagpang-abot nga kayo.
No?
Kasi they graduated in 2015 and 18.
Okay. Nako, ate na nila
Nice.
ako. I'm
Isang
their
paligo
ate.
lang.
But what made you want to run for office?
Oh, that was also after a series of happy accidents.
Mm-hmm.
So, after college, while working, mostly in the NGO world, I ended up being part of forming a new political party called Akbayan
Okay.
Party. And this was our idea of, ano kaya, the things that we're fighting for outside government, baka we can also fight for them within government. So, marami-rami kaming partners noon among the German Social Democrats and the Swedish Social Democrats. So, based on their experiences, we formed Akbayan and we campaigned for the party list law.
Okay.
Nung naipasa yun, so we were one of the first to register for the party list system. But it was only on the third party list election na pumayag ako dun sa pinupush ng mga kasama ko sa Akbayan to stand as a
Run.
nominee of the party. So that's how I ended up here where I am. Not exactly where I planned, but
But
ayun,
where
dito
you
ako
are
dinala
now.
ng buhay. This is where I am now.
What is one thing people assume about you as senator that is completely wrong?
Oh, well, in our very sexist world and
Nako,
country,
that is so true.
'di ba?
Yes,
Alam mo
nako.
'yon.
Mm-mm,
So,
mm-mm.
too many people have mistaken my soft voice and way of speaking. Siguro nag-tune into sila sa energy ko na I was a very shy little girl when I was young. And akala nila weakness yon.
Tama.
Yon.
No?
Malaking pagkakamali yon.
Dahil babae ka, they look at you
As less
as
than
less.
them if they're men, or less than them if they speak more loudly, or less than them if they are extroverts.
Did you ever have to feel na you have to prove yourself more
Yeah.
than the men in the Senate
Oo.
all the time?
Not all the time, but enough times that I can't forget it. Whether in the House of Reps before or now in the Senate. So, ilang beses na may karanasan na, for example, dati sa House, we were in committee and talking about a certain bill, and I was really arguing for a certain provision. Tapos, sabi ba naman niya, a man of course, sabi ba naman niya, why are you arguing so hard for that provision? It's not important. It's just like a hair dryer. Na meaning, a hair dryer, na akala mo only we women use it. Hello, mga guys use it also. But what he meant was a hair dryer is a minor, unimportant appliance which only you women use. So this provision is like that. So why are you bothering so much with it? Wala. I continued arguing with him until finally that provision was included in the final law. Or another time, there was this senior rep who asked me to ask Eta Rosales, our senior rep in Akbayan, to draft a certain letter for him. So sabi ko, okay sir. Sir pa kasi freshman rep ako noon,
Yeah.
siya senior na. So sinulat nga ni Eta para sa kanya. And when I brought it back to him, sabi ba naman niya sa akin, sweetheart, this is not the letter I need. I'm not your sweetheart.
Exactly.
'Di ba? And then sabi niya, sorry, darling.
I'm not your
Tikas ng
darling
ulo.
either.
I said it, even with a higher volume. I'm not your darling. Wala. Tumakbo na siya sa kabila ng session hall. People like that.
Nako, I'm sure it's so hard to deal with these people. And what keeps you going? What keeps you going to fight for these causes?
I think it's the same as you and any one of us na the things that originally inspired me to go on this path or to be in this space, binabalikan ko sila to recharge. So, na-inspire ako sa the people who love me and whom I love. Na-inspire ako sa pagiging Pinoy. I'm very proud to be Filipino.
Yes.
And tingin ko that God or the universe really made us be born Filipino and in the Philippines. Deliberately, not by accident. Proud ako or inspired ako sa arts and cultures natin. Inspired ako sa beauty of nature around us. And yeah, inspired din ako sa faith ko, sa spirituality ko. So, binabalik-balikan ko lagi itong mga original inspirations ko for why I'm where I am now so that I can recharge.
Minsan sabi mo nga, Sen, it can get tough.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time na you chose to give up?
There have been moments, of course, I wanted to give up on certain fights. But, na lang, tinutulog ko sa gabi. And then when I wake up in the
Fresh
morning,
ulit, ha?
fresh ulit, or almost fresh ulit.
Almost fresh
Like being
ulit.
almost honest. And then tuloy lang. So, medyo matigas ang ulo ko.
Okay.
I just keep at something. If it's important, sa tingin ko, I just keep going until, if not all, then some of it is realized.
I want to talk about family, motherhood, and how you keep your balance. How do you balance being a mother with demands of being in the Senate and in public service?
Madalas namin na pag-uusapan yun dati ng other solo moms and we joke about it. Oh, so how do we do what we do? How do we work? How do we raise our kids?
Yes.
And kung mga activista kami or advocates, how do we also do our, political stuff? And our answer was, we sleep less.
Nako,
Ah,
that is so hard.
ang hirap
No?
talaga. I love sleeping pa naman.
I love
But,
sleeping too.
diba?
Did
It's
you know
so
that girls need
life-saving.
more hours to sleep than men?
Really?
Yes.
Nice.
I think men only need like 7 to 8. Tayo
Okay.
naman, we need like 9 to 10.
Wow,
or 8
I
to 10.
wish. Although I think as I got older, I would slowly need less. Dati,
Wow.
ideal rin sa akin yung 8 hours. But now,
Now you can survive.
well, I realized that when I sleep 8 hours, sumasakit ulo ko.
Okay.
Parang naging ideal ko na 7 hours. Sakto lang.
Okay.
So, but that's definitely enough, and quality sleep is one of the essentials that enables me to, be a family woman, be a mama to my kids, but also do my work. So that's only half joke na I would sleep less. Kasi lalo na when the kids were still young and all in school, tas solo mama ko,
Yes.
I would have to be there for them. I wouldn't want to miss things. So, maya I would really ask, say, a party mate of mine, oh, please, can you do this for me? I-delegate ko. At sasabihin ko sa kanya, kasi, yung like political tasks ko, pwedeng i-delegate yon. Pero yung parenting, hindi pwede. Ako na lang yung mom. Ako na lang yung parent ng mga anak ko. So,
Tama.
I would have to do it. And I didn't want to miss the things of my kids. So, yun. How would I balance it? Keep myself alive by those, recharging exercises. And then, kumbaga, just do it, I wouldn't want to miss the things of my kids. And I know that when they're older, I hope and I have a sense na it will matter to them that more often than not, I was there.
That's so beautiful. I love how you said na yung mga political, yung trabaho, pwede ma-delegate. Pero yung
Yes.
parenting and the memories you
Oo.
build with them, they won't forget.
Memories talaga.
Memories, diba?
I mean, my late husband and I would also talk about that in terms of, okay, event nung anak namin, syempre gusto rin namin i-document. Pero after a while, do we video this and photograph this all? Or do we see it with our own eyes and experience it with our kids?
Oh, that's so beautiful.
kalakalahati.
Your late husband was...
So he was a Philippine National Police officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was hard for you when he passed away to take care of these kids. So how did you deal with that?
It was surreal
Yes,
at first.
I'm sure.
I remember for the first 40 days after he died, the kids and I practically just stayed at home. And it was a weird feeling then, even physically, na the only way I can describe it is parang we were moving in plasma. It was like liquid air.
Oh my goodness.
Oo, parang madikit, parang mabagal, malagkit. And I would only go out to do errands for the family or personal. But most of the time, we just stayed home. And the kids and I had to, get used to it over time. And it takes time. And it takes a different length of time
I'm
for
sure.
each one of us. And like my bunso, she was only a toddler when he died. So she was late in her mourning, in her grieving, because she didn't completely understand it when it happened. So the kids and I had to get used to it at different paces and in different ways. And until now, syempre, it's so much a part of our lives. We don't forget things like that, and certainly not people like him. So we just weave everything into our lives, and learning how to continue as a family after he died. He was very much a part of that also. Our memories of him, the way we were a family with him, bahagi pa rin ng how we survived, how we made it, how the kids finished their studies, because only the bunso is still studying now.
Yes.
How the kids are working now, how they're slowly forming their own families.
He's still very much a part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Hindi talaga nawawala.
Sen, how do you get over grief?
You don't completely. You just, parang ganon, you just weave it in. Just incorporate it in your heart now or your emotional life. Oo, your life now. It teaches you a lot of things you didn't want to learn at first.
Yes.
But it teaches you a lot of things, and it actually becomes part of who you are as a person. It becomes part of grief, even becomes part of your emotional resources. Na parang since we survived this, we can survive more. We can
Anything.
endure. We can last longer in this life.
I saw somewhere, I read somewhere, parang grief, it doesn't get less, but you become bigger.
Ganda.
So
Yeah.
you learn how to adapt grief as you become bigger and as you grow as a person.
Ganda. And it's definitely an ingredient in
Yes.
in yourself,
Wisdom.
in your body, in your mind, in your heart as you become bigger. Yeah.
How do your kids find your work today? How do they cope with it? Are they like, cool, my mom is a senator. She's in
sometimes they don't
office."
think that.
No?
Syempre, growing up, they didn't understand all of it at first. That came with time too. I'm sure sometimes naiinggit sila sa oras ko
Oh.
because they would want more of it, even from my work for them. Now they're grown, they're all young adults, and they don't need me in the same way that they used to before. Maybe in
And
different
how do you
ways.
find that? Like, I'm sure my parents are also thinking, I'm sure they miss me too, you
Of
know.
course, they do. I'm sure they do.
But I'm sure they do. But
Oo.
how do you find that they don't need you anymore in the same way?
Well, it's also a point of pride that they're growing up. They're learning to take care of themselves more. They are taking care of other people more as they, set up their own
Okay.
families. And I enjoyed the different stages of their life in different ways. So, enjoy sa nung baby. I never forget that eh.
Yes.
Nung bata sila, teenagers. So ngayon, young adults, iniisip ko na, okay, some of the joys that I enjoyed so much, like nung baby sila, wala na yon. But I'm really enjoying the joys as a parent now that they're young adults. So, kumbaga may pagsisisi or may namimiss ako sa nung maliit pa sila. But I'm proud of and I'm happy with, no? I have a new joy in the way they are now. So I guess it's learning to let go of some things, but also welcome new things and
Okay,
be grateful
that's
for
beautiful.
those.
Do any of them want to get into office
No.
and politics?
No. At pag meron sa kanilang papasok, ako aalis muna. Because
Oh my goodness.
we don't want to set up our own political dynasty.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Sam.
I mean, it's an advocacy. So, syempre, kailangan consistent din kami.
Tama.
Yeah.
And none of them have expressed their wants also.
Wala. Not like that. Not in a, serious and sustained way. And they all have their own professions. They have their own passions in life. So, pero they're very aware of the issues, very opinionated, and they try to be involved in their own ways as citizens.
Tama.
Oo.
You spoke about one of your advocacies was to rally for the anti-political dynasty bill. Can you
Yes.
please expound this for me and talk about it
Yeah.
a little bit more and why this is so important?
Oh, well, on this particular day that we're having this conversation, okay, so the anti-political dynasty
Yes.
bill that I've filed, and it's a counterpart to the Akbayan anti-political dynasty in the House of Representatives, sina Reps Chel, Percy, and
Yes.
Dada.
love
It
them.
has at least 6 or 7 important provisions. Isa na political dynasties up to the 4th degree of consanguinity and affinity are banned from running in the elections. Another is kung may member of the clan who is occupying a position in the national level, hindi pwedeng may tumakbong kamag-anak at the national level also. Kung local official yung isang member ng clan, no relative to that 4th degree may run for a position in the same legislative district or city or province. Pag may national or local official, yung clan, no member to the fourth degree may run in the party list. Hindi rin pwedeng simultaneously mag-occupy ng positions. Hindi rin pwede sunod-sunod to run for and occupy the same position. So, mga ganon.
And why is this so important? I know this is so important, but can you explain to us why this is so important na hindi pwede ang mga kamag-anak in power?
Well, this is so important for at least two big clusters of reasons. One is documentation has shown that local and national government positions where dynasties rule,
Yes.
especially at the local, let's focus on the local here, they tend to be underdeveloped. They tend to exacerbate poverty, and they tend to decrease the value of the delivery of services. On the other side of the argument, importante maipasa yung anti-political dynasty bill because we know that will open up the political spaces to more
Yes.
Filipinos.
To
Ang
more
daming deserving din,
Filipinos,
qualified,
Yes,
willing
I
to
totally
serve, 'di ba? Na hindi lang yung mga dynasties ang may ganung kakayahan.
Tama. What is the best relationship advice you've received?
About being a parent, you mean?
Yes, being a parent.
For my kids? That's something to think about. I tend to think more of what's my biggest learning as a parent that I shared with
Yes.
other parents in our time and what I share with younger parents. So if I can share that one,
Yes.
one of the most important lessons I've learned is in relating to children is to communicate to them, to tell them na follow your bliss. So my kids and I used this when they were thinking about what courses they were going to take in college or what jobs they were going to apply for or accept when they were working already. So I would tell them, follow your bliss. So find out what it is you love most and then be excellent at it. And when you're excellent at it, that will be your service to people, to our society, and through that service, you'll have a happy life. So, yun yung
That's
sinishare
nice.
ko rin sa ibang mga magulang.
Hindi mo fina-force, no? Like,
Hindi.
gusto ko maging nurse ka. Gusto ko
Hindi.
maging... And you
Oo.
don't think that's a good way of
Well,
parenting?
what worked better for me and my kids was to ask them or to observe ano ba yung
Okay.
passion nila sa buhay and then support them in that. Even in terms of the universities or colleges to apply to, I would advise them, wag niyong pipiliin kaagad yung university. Alamin mo anong course ang gusto mong kunin and then apply to the universities which have the strongest programs in that
Okay.
field. Yun.
Sen, I want to talk to you a little bit about the mental health bill.
Okay,
This
the one
is
we
very
passed into
yes,
law.
the one we passed, the one you passed, the one I helped rallied for.
Oh,
But this is
kasama
also
ka.
very personal to me because I am a personal mental health advocate.
Yes.
And my dad is bipolar. I've been through depression.
Yes.
Was there a personal moment for you? I'm sure there were a few
Yes.
personal moments for you that helped you push for this bill.
Yeah, just talking with friends about their own personal
Okay.
and family experiences. And I was able to hear and be part of those conversations a lot with the Y4MH, the Youth for Mental Health Coalition. If you remember,
Yes.
mga kasama nating advocates in pushing for that bill to become law. Kasi sila, you young people, no? Ang dami, very generous sharing your life stories and your experiences. And so talagang ang lakas ng dating sa akin na it was these personal experiences that led them and led you to these advocacies. Why mental health mattered and matters so much to you young people. I don't know if you remember there was that dinner at Van Gogh is Bipolar, that
Yes,
restaurant
I remember.
in UP Teachers Village.
Yes, I remember.
Ang ganda a beautiful space na the interior design, the food itself was so much in tune with the advocacy for mental health and mental well-being. And that evening, di ba, ang daming kwentong buhay
Tama.
na lumabas. So, yun talaga yung pinaka nag-inspire sa akin to work for that bill's passage into law because it was so obviously
Important.
and strongly personally important.
Speaking of personal stories, and from your experience of being a single mother, from being a mother to, I'm sure you have a lot of experiences in the Senate. Are these the reasons why your bills are so mother focused, are so women
Exactly.
focused? You have the
Yes.
maternity leave, you have the
Oo.
bawal bastos
Yes.
law. I feel
Yes.
like it comes from all your experiences.
Definitely. I think we were born not just in the Philippines but born as women for a
Yes.
reason. And sa trabaho natin, our own advocacies, advocacy as legislative work, definitely. Um, Central sa trabaho ko yung pagiging babae. And I really try to keep that woman lens, that gender lens, uh, front and center of the legislative camera.
Yes.
Oo. And that's why, as you noticed, the committee that I chair, the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, has been super masipag
Tama.
and I hope productive in the last years. Kasi as we've been talking about our different advocacies and bills, it's so personal.
Yes.
Oo.
I love that women is front and center of everything that you do. I want to just go a little bit back on the mental health bill. What made this so important for you to pass?
Well, starting from all those stories, and as you mentioned, personal experiences also and stories in my own family and our own clan, that mental health is, as we were saying, even then, part of physical health.
Yes.
There's no shame in asking for help. Just as pag may dinaramdam tayo sa katawan,
Tama.
we may go to a doctor. Pag may dinaramdam din tayo sa ating kaisipan, then we need to also go to a mental health specialist, whether our guidance counselor in school or yung mental health specialist in our workplace or psychologists and psychiatrists sa health system natin. And my kids are, like you, part of a generation na napaka mental health conscious and
They're
very
very much
vocal
aware
about
and
it.
very
Oo,
vocal.
very vocal, very aware. So, my generation of parents has also had to step up in that way. Kailangan namin at kailangan kong maging sensitive at maging responsive sa ganun.
Speaking of Sen, that's the younger generation are more vocal. They're
Yes.
more woke. Actually, my
Oo.
generation is good, but the
Yes.
younger generation are
Yes.
even more vocal about
Right.
depression, anxiety.
Oo.
But tama ka nga, may mga, yung older generation, minsan hindi nila naintindihan
Yep.
na totoo ang mga pinagdadaanan natin on mental health.
Oo.
How would you educate the older generation on mental health?
I think I would share with my fellow parents, yung mga kahenerasyon namin, na, itong mental health na laging pinag-iisipan at sinasabi ng mga anak natin or yung mga apo ninyo, it was already a part of our lives then when we were young and growing up. Hindi pa lang natin alam noon. And we weren't as empowered as our kids now to speak about it or to call people out
Yes.
about it. And I would also tell yung mga kahenerasyon ko na alam ko inoobserbahan din natin yung mga anak natin na are they as strong, are they as resilient as we think we are in our generation. Pero every generation may iba't ibang pinagdadaanan. Kung generation namin, Kylie, maybe our defining moment was the EDSA People Power Revolution. Merong ding defining moments yung younger generations, including our kids, including you, young people. And kailangan, intayin naming older ones for you young people to tell us na, oh, we are strong too. And these are our sources of strength. Actually, yung awareness nyo about mental health is a source of strength itself. And we just need to keep that dialogue between the generations going para magkarespetuhan, no? We appreciate each other and we just keep that conversation going between the generations, appreciating what you younger people are teaching us and finding ways also to communicate yung mga life lessons din namin
Yes.
from our time with you, our children and younger people.
A lot of young people are also very woke, but yet, why do you think they're the ones going through the most anxiety and
Yeah.
depression? And what do you think we can help them with? Or what do you think they can do?
Siyempre, there are basics sa mental health na alam natin
Yes.
to strengthen or to reinforce the natural resilience of every young human being. I mean, that yung lakas na yun, I think that's inborn in us from the moment
You
we
think
are
it's
born.
grit? Parang
It's, I
kapag,
love that word.
no?
Grit talaga.
Yung galing sa
Kailangan.
failure.
Oo.
Tapos
Sa
natututo tayo.
karanasan. That's why the grit may not be fully formed yet at birth, pero nade-develop yun going
you go
through
through.
experiences, including the defeats, including the difficulties, including the grief. So, kailangan dadaanan pa yan ng every child, every young person, mapagdaanan, ma-survive, and then ma-incorporate. That's what I think becomes grit. Maybe it's like a grain of sand
Tama.
sa oyster. Kailangan may ganong irritation or even pain or suffering. Pero kapag na-digest yun ng young person, magiging pearlas yan at lalong magiging malakas siya bilang tao. Woke is a spark. Michas siya. It's a sensitizing thing. And when as I observe with my kids, as I observe with other young people, when young people are able to put it together with empathy,
Yes.
with that grit that you mentioned, I see that it makes for a stronger and stronger person. Yung anxiety, that again, I think that's always been part of the human
Life.
condition. Kahit nung mga bata kami, we just didn't have a name for it
Feeling ko
at
hindi
once.
natin, yeah, that's true.
Di natin
We didn't
napangalanan
name
or
it.
namin. We didn't name it then. But you are able to name it now. I think though there's something na makes the environment more challenging for you younger people. It's the whole social media thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Just the volume of it
I
and
totally
the speed of it.
the information,
The
amount of,
information.
I'm sorry, but it's trash. That,
Diba?
that
There
is
is a
there
lot that
online.
can be trash
Yes.
surrounding all the nuggets of valuable
Yes.
information. Pero I think just the possibility of knowing everything that's happening all around the world right now, all at the same time. Tingin ko sobra siya sa capacity ng puso at isip ng
isang
tao. Human
no?
being. So,
And don't you think dahil, let's say our generation, we were born with internet or
Oo,
without, tapos
oo.
biglang may surge of information.
correct. So, and I observe
feel
that
like it is a
especially
bit
in
too
younger Filipinos na digital natives talaga. Pinanganak sila, digital na yung mundo natin. Hindi tulad namin nung nabuhay kami. It was still analog and then we crossed over as digital migrants or immigrants. Pero sila, natives, I really see value in ano tawag doon? When you unplug regularly for a certain amount of time para mag-detox, no? I read this beautiful article na this is the year of going analog. Oo.
Sabi nga nila, Sen, one of the trends for 2026 is analog.
Diba?
Going back to basics.
Going back to basics, getting a grip on things. No?
Yes.
Yung analog is
Grounding
also
yourself.
being tactile,
Yes.
being with friends, not just friends on Facebook, many of whom may be actually total strangers to us, but are real friends from school, from work, from even childhood.
Yes.
Iba rin eh. I think it brings back more of that balance sa buhay natin.
I feel like when we unplug, it's the connection that
Oo.
sometimes we miss. No?
It's connectivity, but
Yes.
it's not necessarily connection pala. Kasi we make ourselves vulnerable to a lot of strangers who may or may not care about us and whom we may or may
That's
not care
true.
about personally. Pero when we're less or in a more balanced way, not just on our gadgets, then we have more time and emotional energy to be in touch with our family, our friends, real friends in life, our colleagues at work. Yun.
That's true. Sen, how do you think has the mental health bill changed the conversation with mental health in the Philippines, and what do you think the Philippines can do to better implement it?
Ay nako, kailangan nating bantayan every year
Nako.
na ini-implement siya.
Yes. And
Completely
may tanong
and
ako dyan.
well. Oo.
Kapag a bill is passed, sino pong responsible to implement it?
The executive na.
Okay.
But then, the advocates, like yung mga kasama nating Y4MH, yung mga iba't ibang societies of mental health professionals, many other stakeholders, hindi sila nag-retire, ha? They didn't just leave the law to be implemented by itself.
Yes.
Nagmo-monitor pa rin sila. Kahit kami sa Congress, dapat may oversight function kami to make sure it's implemented fully and well. And every year, sa budget debates, sinisiguro namin na it is also funded through the Department of Health budget.
So, lagi niyo pong ino-overlook that it is properly implemented.
That's the sinasabing congressional power of oversight.
Okay.
So, we oversee na the laws that we pass,
Yes.
kahit hindi na legislature nag-i-implement, it's the executive. Pero, binabantayan namin na ini-implement ng maayos.
Tama. It doesn't stop from passing the bill. Parang passing the bill is one thing, but the execution is another.
Yes.
For example, in my mental health advocacy, marami nagtatanong, saan po ako pwede magpa-consult sa
Right.
mental health? And sometimes they say, nahirapan ako magpa-consult. And with the mental health bill pass, nahirapan pa rin sila. What can we say to them?
Well, ayun, we can say na yung intention ng mental health law was, as you remember, to increase the number and capacity of mental health professionals and health professionals na capacitated for mental health service down to the barangay level.
Yes.
So, doctors, so psychiatrists, of course, but also other doctors, nurses, midwives, barangay health workers, from the national level down to the barangay. Though we know that until now, kulang na kulang pa rin ang mga mental health specialists at kulang pa rin yung capacity building sa lahat ng klase ng mga mental o ng health service providers na ito so that they can serve patients' needs in terms of mental health. So, it's still a work in progress. Kailangan taon-taon dagdagan namin ang funding to increase the number of psychiatrists, to increase the number of mental health trainings for all health service providers. And PhilHealth isn't falling far behind kasi nagdagdag na rin sila ng mga packages for mental health and they're increasing the value of those. So, to include dapat those consultations, confinement, if and when they need to be confined, medicines to manage their mental health concerns properly.
Senator Risa, you've been such a strong voice for women's rights, gender equality, protection against abuse, and you've taken stands when, even if it's very politically unpopular. And being in the Senate and politics, I'm sure you deal with so much dangerous people and information. What keeps you going to fight for what's right?
I'm very prudent naman. Hindi ako reckless if we get any concerned information or advice about security. But I always remember, this is my work. This is my responsibility. So, basta maingat lang. My staff and I, we always accompany each other. Yun na nga, hindi kami careless.
Yes.
But we just stick to what we're supposed to do. So whether it's filing bills to pass into law or it's investigating resolutions, dun maya't maya mas maraming mga warnings or advice to take care or, fighting for budget interventions. Or even maya't maya, I mean, nabitin lang the other year, but be preparing to be senator judge in an impeachment trial. So, hindi ko iniinda lang yung kung may panganib, but I just remind myself, be prudent, don't be reckless, but keep doing your responsibility.
Is there a personal cost it cost you? Or
Well, syempre, iniisip ko rin yung security ng mga
Yes.
taong mahalaga sa akin. But as I also share with my younger colleagues in Akabayan, lalo na sa Akabayan Youth, na minsan we were talking about fear. And
Yes.
sabi ko,
Do you ever feel scared?
of
or
course.
worried?
Yeah, of course. I worry a lot.
A lot, many
Yeah,
times?
sometimes
How do you deal
I'm
with it?
afraid. Well, gaya nung sinasabi ko sa mga Akbayan Youth, okay lang matakot. Kasi minsan naman talaga nakakatakot.
Mhm.
Wag lang tayong maduduwag. Yon.
Ganda.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid.
And even when you are afraid, just keep
Keep on
going.
going.
Yeah.
Be courageous and be brave.
Try to be brave.
Sen, how did you transition from the minority to the majority of the Senate now that you are deputy majority leader in the Senate?
Oh, it's taking a lot of getting used to. Naninibago ako.
sure.
At least twice, I've gone down to the floor and started to walk towards my old desk on the side of the majority in the session hall. Then,
Nakakapanibago.
Oo. Tapos naalala ko, oops, dito nga
Okay,
pala ako
okay,
uupo
okay.
sa side ng majority. Even working as a deputy majority leader for the first time ever in my 9 years in the Senate. Even those first few times na
Congratulations, Sen.
Senate President Soto asked me to preside the plenary. So talagang after a while, it was so peaceful. I felt, oh, kaya pala ito.
Yes.
After the first moments of how thrilling to be asked to preside, afterwards it felt it's just right. It's okay. So, isang malaking kwento din yung how from the old minority we were able to form the new
Yes.
majority, and it's been challenging. So, I've had to step up to responsibilities in the majority, most recently dito sa pagbuo namin ng budget. Pero exciting siya kasi we are really trying to uphold yung matagal na tradisyon ng Senado as, sabi nila, maya't maya, one of the last bulwarks of democracy. Tapos talagang seloso sa independence niya as an institution. And ayun, excited ako na in the next years that the Senate can continue to contribute to problem solving. Kasi
Yes.
ang dami pa rin nating problema, di ba? And that the Senate can contribute to realizing more of the dreams of our people, our country, and that the majority will be part of that, and that I will be part of that as part of the majority. After many years that I have loved being part of the minority.
Yeah. Sen, you talked about one of the biggest is about the budget. Can you
Oo.
tell me more about it or explain it in layman's terms? What's happening now? What are your reservations against it?
Well, I made of record naman yung reservations ko about the budget that we passed this year. Dahil sa tingin ko may mga items that we should have included, but that I will continue to fight for in the coming years. More provisions about health, more about the
Yes.
ecology. But I voted yes to this budget. And sabi ko, yon ay dahil the process is much improved compared to the past. Hindi pa rin siya perfect, Kylie.
Yes.
We will continue to
Yes.
make the process more transparent and accountable, more open. But we made, I think, a good start this year. And mayroon din kaming mga provision that for the first time we included that are good for health, good for women, good for disaster preparedness. So that's also how I explained my yes vote for this budget. Na di nga siya perfect pa, may mga losses din, pero may mga wins, both in terms of the process and the actual line items in the budget. So ito yung budget na ginagastos ngayon as we speak by national government for this new year, 2026.
With everything that's happening now, with corruption being
Yes.
such important and hot topic in the
Oo.
Philippines today, maraming nagagalit.
Mm-mm.
Maraming galit. There are so many unanswered questions.
Yes.
And people are starting to lose hope na baka wala na magbago. I mean, meron naman mga nakukulong, pero hindi pa lahat. What do you say to someone who is starting to lose hope in the government?
Let's never lose hope. Minsan kasi that's all we have left.
Yes.
So hawakan natin, wag nating bibitawan. Even if there are moments that people may lose hope in government, and whole of government should say mea culpa,
Yes.
kasi there's too many moments na government has let people down, has let the citizens down.
So many.
'Di ba? Pero even in those moments, don't lose hope in our society. Don't lose hope in our people. Ikaw mismo, individual citizen, don't lose hope in yourself. Kahit yung galit ngayon na nararamdaman,
Yes.
that is an ingredient to sustain our hope. Kasi isipin natin, matagal nang itong issue ng corruption, way before this scandalous flood control
Tama.
scandal.
It's been years, no?
Years, decades,
nasa
too long.
sistema na.
Nanuot sa sistema.
Nasa sistema na.
And we have
Tama.
to root it
Tanggalin.
out. Tanggalin talaga. So even this anger of ours as a people, it's positive. Kasi with the scale of the revelations about the corruption,
The amounts.
the
being-
amounts being talked about, the
Grabe,
accountabilities, not just in the private sector, but
Tama.
in government itself. Kaya galit na galit ang mga tao at dapat lang. Kaya ganun kalalaki yung mga rallies. Kaya kahit pinalipas lang ang Pasko, kasi tayong mga Pinoy, syempre pag
Tama.
Pasko, masaya tayo. But
Exactly.
in the New Year, kahit dun sa translasyon sa Nazareno, di ba, news caught devotos chanting
Tama.
na ang mga kurakot, panagutin, ikulong.
Tama.
So this will continue, Kylie. Even the budget process that we tried to improve benefited from that anger about the flood control
Tama.
scandal. Tumawid siya dito sa bagong taon. And I have faith that people will sustain this anti-corruption campaign. At dahil itutuloy natin yan, may pag-asa tayo. The anti-corruption anger already compelled a better budget process. It already caused the filing of charges,
Tama.
not just among DPWH officials, but against legislators, against contractors. Magbubunga yan. Those will lead to trials. Those will lead to imprisonments. And tatawid tayo sa 2026, I think, because people will not just let go of their anger, will force results that are concrete and beneficial. I think this will generate more good possibilities for our country moving forward and even more hope than we have now.
Ang ganda and ang sarap pakinggan na there is hope or may patutunguhan or may ikukulong pa. And my next question is, because corruption is so ingrained in our system, Sen, what do you think needs to change? Do you think it's the system or do you think we need to change the people?
Both. The way a system became is because of our human actions and inactions.
Tama.
Tapos, di ba, we institutionalized it in systems and structures. So, ibig sabihin, kahit maganit na siya, dahil tao din ang gumawa niyan over time, then, ganun din, over time, we can change it. We can change it. So, kailangan magbago both yung ugali natin, yung kultura natin, and the system itself. Through legislation, for example, na yun na nga, mapaparusahan talaga ang mga kurakot.
Tama.
There's that negative reinforcement. May positive din na, and we learned this from best practices in other countries in our region. Halimbawa na, sabi dun sa isang bansa, they give their public sector employees and officials not exactly the same salaries dun sa private sector counterparts nila kasi mahal dun, but kahit 70 or 80% para may kakayahan sila buhayin yung pamilya nila to a decent, a humane standard of living. So it's a positive reinforcement na let's fulfill our oath of office, let's fulfill the oath we took when we entered the public sector. Kaya nating buhayin yung mga pamilya natin ng
Tama.
makatao. It's a disincentive to corruption. Sa private sector, I heard a beautiful initiative they had several years ago called the Integrity Initiative. Several companies banded together, sabi nila, we will maintain only one set of books para sa BIR. So we declare honestly ano yung
That is
business
amazing.
natin. BIR should compute the tax honestly at
Yes.
yun lamang ang sisingilin. I mean, BIR is also in hot water now,
Yeah,
diba?
I'm not the biggest fan of theirs, and
Ayun,
there's so many
can
other.
imagine. So many other
government agencies.
professionals and companies. But so all of these and more parts have to come together to really root out the corruption, throw it like a weed into the fire. So to allow our economy, our people, and our government to function properly.
Was this the start, you think, yung flood control issue na to?
Mhm.
Dahil nangyari to, takot na yung was this how do you say this? It erupted change
Yeah.
inside the government, inside
Uh-huh.
the systems. Mas takot na ba ang
I hope natatakot na sila.
or
Hindi pa
else
sila
kung hindi
natatakot.
pa?
Ano pang hinihintay nila?
Exactly.
Well, really, I mean, you're right.
Sana may magbago.
Dapat may magbago.
Nararamdaman mo ba sana like
Well,
things are
I
changing
am
inside?
hopeful that this will really lead to change. Kapag natuloy yung pagkaso sa trials, sa convictions and
Yes.
imprisonments, that should be a deterrent for any and all others na mag-iisip pang ipagpatuloy yung kasalukuyang
Tama.
sistema. Because they will see that meritorious service is rewarded, but abuse, corruption, plunder is
Yes.
punished. Kailangan ganon.
And I hope they are punished.
They should be. They will be if found guilty and convicted.
Sen, for a normal Filipino, how else can we express this yung galit? How else can we rally instead of just, rallying on social media? How
True.
else? How else can we express our how else can we help?
So, sana yung mga kababayan natin will continue to get involved in the ongoing campaigns. Those who are studying the detailed projects, not just of DPWH, but of all other departments. For example, those super barangay health centers that are non-operational of the Department of Health, or reported anomalies in different programs under the Department of Education, which DepEd itself has started to investigate,
Yes.
etc. Joining the mobilizations, whether rallies or creative actions against corruption, the upcoming anniversary of the EDSA People Power
Yes.
Revolution. Also, being active online. For
Yes.
example, the Senate Transparency Portal. We will keep it up because that's where we uploaded our proposed amendments to this year's budget when we were debating it last year. I think, I'm not sure if the Isumbong Mo sa Pangulo website is still up, but if it is, I hope our kababayan will continue to input into these government, whether legislative or executive platforms, for citizens to literally make sumbong or to give information that the authorities can look into.
Sen, years ago, we were known as, we had one of the strongest economies in Asia.
Yes.
And we were even known as the Paris of Asia at
Wow.
one point.
Mhm.
Where do you think we went wrong? Or what happened and what went wrong?
A lot. A lot.
What was the turning point of our country?
One turning point was, so after World War II,
Yes.
in the 40s, we started to have golden era starting in the 1950s and in the 1960s, that the agriculture was so strong.
Yes.
Thais and Vietnamese were coming here to study at the UP Los Baños,
For
at the
rice
right
planting.
at the International Rice Research Institute. Then they went home. They really strengthened their agricultural sectors, but we neglected ours, and we still give too little support to agriculture. And now we are importing rice and
Rice.
other produce from the countries which we taught how to plant. In those decades of the 50s and 60s, infant industries were being put up here in the Philippines. Hindi mo na naabutan to, but before you were born, there were textile industries.
Okay.
Yeah, producing our own textiles for our own clothing industries. There were steel industries. Yeah, set
Okay.
up in Mindanao and elsewhere in the Philippines.
Parang I think I read somewhere we are a hub for agriculture,
We
for
were.
fashion, for
Yes.
textiles.
Yes. And for construction materials. But along the way, pumayag tayo na in a global economic order, we were not allowed to sustain and to further develop our industries. Our agricultural sector, nabansot siya to practically just raw materials,
Okay.
not enough of, processing for value adding, more of imports rather than exports. We were able to focus on our services, kaya ang lakas ng BPO sector natin hanggang ngayon. Pero kulang pa rin in terms of diversification. At kulang na sana palakasin ulit yung agriculture and then balikan yung sinimula natin sa industries. So we have to assert ourselves again in the region and globally so that we can take our rightful place, not just internationally, but for our own people. Mapakain ang sarili natin, di ba? Magkaroon ng certain selected industries so that we can fulfill some of our needs domestically and then
Yes.
pwede tayong mag-trade on a more equal level with other countries.
Do you think corruption has a part to play in
Oh,
this?
yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ay, grabe.
Nako.
Nako, you think about
Number one.
if you think about smuggling
Yes.
sa agriculture, which really, kills our farmers and fisher folk and cheats government of taxes and doesn't give the maximum benefit to our consumers, corruption din yun eh.
Tama.
'Di ba? Oh,
So,
yung
napapaisip ako, let's say, bakit when I travel to Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam,
yan.
bakit ang ganda ng infrastructure nila?
Diba?
Bakit maayos? Bakit,
Oh my
let's
God.
say, except Bangkok, bakit walang traffic? Bakit,
Kahit
bakit
Bangkok, mas maayos na ang traffic kaysa sa
actually,
atin.
tama. Bakit ang
Yeah.
ganda ng roads? Bakit may
Oo,
roads?
bakit
Even?
may roads?
Bakit may
Correct.
roads? Bakit feeling ko ang layo pa natin?
I know, right?
Why?
I mean, and infrastructure is part of the basic skeleton of any country.
Yes.
Yung na-observe natin sa ibang bansa at kinaiingitan natin, by right, our citizens should have that here. Kasi we're all taxpayers. So dapat talaga bumalik in
Yes.
terms of those programs and services. I mean, infrastructure is even a part of or a foundation of various industries like, say, tourism.
Yes.
Ang gaganda ng tourist sites
Tama.
natin, but we have to make it easier, less painful
Yes.
for both domestic and,
And
foreign
foreigners.
tourists to get there.
Tama.
Hindi yung ang hirap-hirap just to get out of our airports or to get to the tourist
Tama.
sites or to travel within certain islands, for example. And, di ba, hindi naman dapat major production yun just for those to be delivered to our people. That's a matter of right, of entitlement because of the taxes.
Tama. And speaking of better access to foreigners here in our country, syempre tourism is one of the biggest industries here
Should be,
at
yeah.
nagpapabigay ng pera. Pero bakit this year bumaba ang tourism compared
Yes.
to, let's say, Thailand who brings in 30 million
Oo.
tourists, Bangkok, Singapore. Bakit nahuli ang Pilipinas?
It's so sad, di ba? Makita
Yes,
mo yung
super.
stats na yun. We are the lowest among
Yes.
at least the original 6 Southeast Asian
and we have
countries
so
in
much
terms of
beautiful
tourist arrival.
agriculture that we can give.
Super. I mean, palaban yung mga tourist sites natin. And I think really one of the missing links is just the ease of getting there. Na hindi mo kailangang magpakasakit ng
Tama.
ulo to arrange your travel to the Philippines or the packages you can avail of here. Kumbaga dapat inisip na natin yon para sa kanila and we offer it to them so that they can rest here, they can
Yes.
relax, not be stressed, not worry if a problem comes up at hindi nila alam kung sino ang katulong nila para i-solve yon. Dapat tayo yon.
Aside from the airport, Sen, which is one of I've been traveling. It's not the best airport, but I think it's getting better.
It's
espec-
getting better.
Especially the Clark one. I have to say, I think
it's
that can compete
beautiful.
internationally.
Oo.
But do you think because of the issues that are happening now, mas natatakot sila pumunta sa Pilipinas?
Unfortunately, if their embassies here observe or they observe just by monitoring the news from abroad na ito nga ang laking corruption scandal or na there are elements of public safety
Yes.
that their embassies will caution them about, hindi yun nakakatulong para sa ating tourism campaigns, of course. So, we're trying to make our country better, first of all, for us Filipinos who are here, and then for other people na tayo bilang sinasabi nating hospitable na sambayanan,
Yes.
we want to welcome them here. We want them to visit us. And in terms of the tourism industry, gusto natin na talagang i-develop ito kasi pinagmamalaki natin ang Pilipinas. And we know that tourism can deliver so much to our economy na kailangan din ng ating mga kababayan. I mean, it's a virtuous cycle, di ba?
What is something we need to pay attention to this 2026?
That is a beautiful question. I love things about paying attention.
Yes.
That's a first
What do we need
important
to pay attention
thing.
to this
Yeah.
2026?
For sure, we need to keep paying attention to what the corruption problem demands of us.
Yes.
Kasi ang laki na nabuksan, so kailangan nating sagutin para kailangan maisara natin ng maayos
Tama.
in a way that delivers good for our people. I think in 2026, we also probably, and I'm taking this from my daughter who said when we were noting the Pantone color for the year.
Nako, it's funny. Sen was like, "Oh, I love your set. It's very the
It's very
Pantone color of the
Pantone,
year."
diba?
Sabi ko, it's white, right?
Which was our reaction when
Yeah,
he
it's
said,
white.
"Oh, Pantone color of the year. Cloud Dancer. Wow,
It's white.
matignan nga. Cloud Dancer pa, white,
White.
lang pala." Pero ang ganda ng insight niya, Kylie. She
Please tell
said,
us.
baka kasi things are so complex now and people just want simplicity again. So,
Ganda.
I think taking a cue from that, baka in 2026, we need to pay attention to going back to more of the basics. Like we were talking about kanina, for example, bringing analog back into our life more in a good balance with the digital that we need. And maybe third for now, I think we need to pay attention to the things that we have to change, speaking of corruption, the things that we have to simplify or the essentials we need to go back to in order to prepare for more and bigger and better changes in the years ahead. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I want to talk about Sen. You were one of the big ralliers against the anti-trafficking, the Alice Go issue, and
Yes.
now she has been convicted, and she is now in jail
Yes.
for sentence for life.
Yes.
And you were a big part of rallying this campaign and to getting her in jail.
Yep.
To getting her in jail. Can you tell me more about this and what does this imply or what can we learn from this?
Oh my gosh, so many lessons from the Alice Guo investigation. Painful lessons, but also very instructive lessons.
Yes.
Even for other issues we're looking into now for our country. Grabe yung level of public interest in pagsubaybay. and invested yung mga kababayan
Ako din, invested ako. And hindi ako ganun ka-invested sa mga bagay. Pero sinundan ko yung Alice Go issues and
Sinundan mo
dahil
ang daming sumunod.
napaka-interesado. Para siyang
Sobra.
para siyang mystery case.
Diba?
na gusto ko
Who
siyang-
done it?
Yes, na gusto ko
Diba?
siyang i-connect.
Oo.
And it's connected to the Pogo.
Yes, yes. it was and the who done it, we're not finished asking
Yes.
that question kasi meron pang mga tao na involved nun, kasama niya, na hanggang ngayon are at large and have not come forward to answer the remaining questions. Tapos, konektado talaga. So even when we're talking about investigating possible espionage by another country here in the Philippines in our different sectors, ano pa rin yun? Very much related to Alice Guo. So, it made me feel we are really so connected to other countries, to our region, to the world. And it made me feel na kailangan nating ilagay sa ayos yung mga koneksyong iyon.
Tama.
So, whether in terms of the ICT industry na dun nanuot yung
Tama.
POGOs, or in terms of other countries' presence in different sectors of our economy. So, grabe, I think Alice Guo will forever be a main character in the
Tama,
recent
no?
history of the Philippines.
Parang she stands for so much. Like,
Oo.
what does she stand for, Sen?
Oh my gosh. Well, she stands for pretense, for
Yes.
misrepresentation. She stands for yung corruption of weak government institutions. Kaya yung lesson din na kailangan palakasin and wag maging or wag magpagamit or wag maging kasabwat ng mga dayuhan against our own national interest. She stands for the need to be more discerning about
Yes.
what economic activities are we going to allow in our country. Kasi may cost-benefit analysis dapat lagi iyon, especially for women and children.
Interesting. Sen, what would you say to, especially nung pumutok yung corruption issue, maraming, let's say, mga foreign investment na nag-back out and
Yun
baka
na
mas
nga.
takot sila na mag-invest sa Pilipinas.
Oo.
What can you say to them na to like kind of calm them down? Or even us, mga business owners
Oo.
na especially sa mga BIR, minsan nahihirapan kami na
yeah.
parang, I find this so unfair. Like,
Oo.
what would you say to parang calm us, mga business owners, na things will get better?
Well, more than saying, all of government has to
Implementing.
do more. So, napag-usapan natin kanina na BIR is sort of in the hot seat right now and kailangan mag-ayos talaga siya.
Tama.
And be an honest broker with local and foreign business persons. Kasi it's really painful to see even committed investments,
Yes.
wait and see for local investors or pull out or change their minds, relocate for foreign investors. We need those
We need,
investments
yes,
from
we do
inside
need.
the country and from outside the country as well to strengthen and make our economy stronger. I would say to local and foreign investors that we're really trying to solve the problems, to address the concerns, and watch us. Watch us.
I
We're
love
really going
that.
to continue working on this.
I love that.
Yeah.
What gives you hope with the Philippines today?
I have no choice but to hope. This is our only country in this lifetime. Apart from dual citizens, of course. This is our country, and to make it worth staying in or coming back to, both for younger people who study and work abroad, or for overseas Filipino workers and other overseas Filipinos na nag-iisip na pag-retire nila, dito sila magbabalik bayan, dito sila magre-retire. And yeah, what we talked about with such passion, yung anti-corruption
Yes.
movement now, all of these give me hope because I have no choice but to hope, and because we showed something amazing last year.
Yes.
And it's crossed over
Yes.
into this year. So I think it's an energy na hindi magde-dissipate at saka hindi magde-degrade, but will continue to evolve and make our country better.
People like you in the Senate, Sen, give me hope. I'm not a big fan of many
Happy.
of them. I have to say,
Sorry.
And they're probably gonna hate me for this, but I'm a big fan of yours, and thank you for doing what you're doing in the Senate.
Maraming salamat.
So, if ever a woman wanted to make a change in the world today, would you suggest to them to get into politics?
If it's their passion, yes.
Okay.
We always need newer, younger leaders, especially women leaders, everywhere in government, from the barangay up to the national levels, in all the branches, from the executive to the legislature, and definitely for women lawyers in the judiciary. So yes, please, if it's your passion, come in.
What do women leaders see na hindi nakikita ng mga lalaki?
I think this also has to do with the way we socialize the way we raise our daughters and sons, and the way we socialize our students, both girls and boys, and the way we socialize our working people, women and men. But I think it's a potential that is in everyone. But okay, with the way we raise and socialize our girls right now, ang nakikita nating mga babae na mas madali and in a sustained way that the guys may not immediately tune into is yung that personal and that womanly or feminine, whatever the Soji-esque is, perspective, that lens. Oo. Kasi we're used to being in the minority.
Tama.
We're used to being
Tsaka in a
marginalized.
masculine world.
In a very male,
patriarchal world.
This has been the struggle of millennia already.
Yes.
Oo. And it's something we're very sensitive about. At pag awakened na yung consciousness natin tungkol dyan, then we tend to practice sisterhood, to appreciate what the women who came before us fought for and won for us. And we want to do the same for each other and do the same
Tama.
for the younger women.
Tama. If you could fix one law immediately, what would it be and why?
Wow. Marami-rami yun. Okay, I would I'm choosing between
Okay, Sam,
something
give me
that
two
allows
or
dissolution
three.
of marriage and the law about Soji-esque equality. Yeah.
Talk to me about the divorce bill and
Yes.
why it's so important for us to pass.
It's so important to pass a divorce or dissolution of marriage law, not only because we're the only, only
only?
country in the world which doesn't have a divorce law
Only,
yet,
no,
or
we
a
are the
dissolution of marriage. And what's the pride in that? That we are the only one in the whole world. But also because everyone deserves a second chance.
Tama.
A second chance at love, at commitment, at family life. I mean, if you are in a good marriage, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Make it for life. That's what
Yes.
all of us wish when we get married. But if a woman especially, or even a man, if a person is in a marriage that isn't anymore what marriage was supposed to be
Or even
in the
toxic,
first place, or
Sam.
toxic,
Or like
even
violent.
exactly, then by all means that person deserves
Tama.
relief from that.
Tama.
And then if that person falls in love again, wants to commit again
Yes.
in marriage, wants to have a blended family of the children, wants to together take care of their senior citizen parents, why not? Everyone deserves a second chance.
That is so true. I feel like growing up, especially like in a Christian household,
Mm-hmm.
we're always taught, oh, you cannot. Marriage is just one person and you cannot get divorced. But growing up and of course experiencing and going through life,
Yeah.
there are ang dami nangyayari with your relationship and
Oh.
love, and there could be toxicity in the relationship and violence in the
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah.
and infidelity in the
Yeah.
relationship na hindi deserve ng mga babae and
Oo.
lalaki
Oo.
to stay in a relationship na
And it's not good for the kids
it's
either.
not good for the kids.
Diba? What kind of family life will they will they model based on their
Exactly.
experiences?
So I do believe and I do wanna push also for this divorce bill dahil tayo nga lang ang only country. What about the Vatican also?
Well, the Vatican is in Italy. Italy too has a divorce law. Ano ba?
Oh my goodness. So we are the
Oo,
only
only
country in the
talaga.
world where we cannot get divorced.
Yep.
Okay. mm. Sen, quick question. You don't have to answer this, but would you ever consider running for president?
Oh, I've been asked that.
Oh, you've been asked this?
Yeah.
You feel free to
Uh,
cut it if
Yung-
you don't want.
Sige. I've been asked that by
Okay.
groups that, thank God, are mobilizing to unite the opposition
Mm-hmm.
around the common candidate. And when they asked me, I said, okay, I'm open to running for president and I will certainly support a common candidate because that's been my advocacy from the start.
Okay. Interesting. Sen, if you weren't in politics, what would you be doing? I know your
Theater
answer
and
already.
music. I'd be
You would
singing
be-
and acting on stage. And mark my word, Kylie, mabalik ako doon.
Nako, I am excited for your comeback.
Thank you.
Now, Sen, this is rapid fire question. This
okay.
or that. So we're gonna
Okay.
keep it light
Sige.
and we're gonna keep it fun. But all you have to do is say the first thing that comes off the top of your head.
Okay.
So the first one: what is a belief you've changed your mind about recently?
Recently?
Yes.
Oh dear, I'm
Okay,
how
sige,
slow.
not
Dapat
recently.
First thing.
Okay, I'll repeat. What is a belief you've changed your mind about?
Cosmetic surgery?
Okay.
Not for myself, but for
Are you
people in
against it or for it?
I'm for body positivity
Okay.
Pero yung mga kaibigan ko, for example, sa pageant world,
Yes.
may open my mind about it for other people. Yeah.
Ako, Sen, I'm for it.
Okay.
As long because there's so much technology now,
Oo.
and we owe it to ourselves to take
Enhance.
care of. Yes, no,
Oo.
not enhance, but like take care of ourselves.
Oh
the best
yeah,
way
for
possible.
sure. For
Yung mga
sure.
lalaki may
Health.
testosterone therapy, may mga peptides. Syempre yung
Oo.
babae, we're very
Peptides, galing. Yeah.
no. So I'm totally for it.
For sure. Health.
What daily habit keeps you sane?
Drinking water? No. Sleep.
Sleep. No, sabi mo sleep.
Sleep talaga.
Sleep.
Yeah.
What is one Filipino value we need to reclaim?
Oh my gosh. Pakikipagkapwa. Hindi nawala ha, pero it suffered hits especially during the time of extrajudicial killing. So gusto ko talagang ma-recover natin yon completely.
Tama.
Yeah.
Speaking up or strategic silence?
Both. If you had
totally
to choose
agree.
between the two, strategic silence.
Me too.
Oo. Kasi
Ako
'di ba, we do it less
Yes.
but it can matter more.
Yes.
And then using the wins you have from strategic silence, sometimes maybe you create more opportunities for speaking up later on.
I totally agree with strategic silence. I feel
Yeah.
like there's more power in silence.
Yeah.
And people guess more.
Oo.
There's so much power in silence.
Oo.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Dark chocolate? It's a pleasure. I'm not so guilty about it. I just thought of it as a guilty pleasure.
What song that gets you through the hard days?
Ay, marami. Oh, I love, well, Tomorrow, sa Annie. And then,
I love that.
Diba?
The sun comes out
Exactly.
tomorrow.
That's one. Ano pa ba? Yung mga hopeful songs. Looks Like We Made It.
Okay, I love that.
Ano ba yun? Yung sa What a Journey It Has Been. That's just the opening line. I don't
Okay,
remember the
okay.
title right now.
Okay.
Mga ganon.
Okay,
Yeah.
mga happy songs.
Songs about making it.
What is the last thing that made you cry?
Oh, a film. Watch
What?
The Taste of Things.
Where can I watch
Lovely.
it?
Netflix.
Netflix?
Yes.
What is it
Beautiful.
about?
It's about this this gourmet and his wonderful cook,
Okay.
played by the lovely Juliette Binoche.
Okay.
And how he proposes to her and how she rejects him, but what he does to try to win her over. The director is this fantastic, I'm just forgetting his whole name right now, but this fantastic French-Vietnamese director. Grabe, Kylie. The outdoor scenes are like Monet with people in it.
Ang ganda.
Oo.
Art, no?
And the art talaga. And the indoor scenes are like still lives na gumagalaw.
Ganda.
Sobrang ganda.
Is it like a French film?
Well,
like
it's
European
French, but there are
film?
English subtitles and it's
Okay.
beautiful.
What is the name of the...
The Taste of Things.
The Taste of
Oo,
Things.
Hanapin mo.
Okay,
That's
I'm
the
gonna
last
watch
one
that.
that made me cry.
Taste of Things.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any woman in history, who would it be?
Wow, ganda. From recent history, Jacinda Ardern of
Okay.
New Zealand, or Angela Merkel of Germany,
What do
or
you...
AOC.
Okay, what
Yeah.
do you admire about them? Yung first
Well,
one.
the first two had fantastic responses to the pandemic as women leaders, and napansin sila
Galing.
as compared to many of the male
Galing.
leaders during the pandemic. And of course, AOC, who doesn't, well, I guess there are also those who don't like her, but I really love her spunk
Okay.
and her fire. Yeah, she's a younger woman leader who gives me hope for the world.
I love that. What's something people are surprised to know about you?
Oh, that I'm fun-loving, or that I enjoy jokes, that
That's
I
true.
enjoy laughing. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm so sad we are about to end the
Okay.
interview, but Sen, if there was one lesson you would want our listeners to take away from this podcast, what would it be?
Oh, I think it would be just stick to the things that matter. They're always, always worth it.
That's so beautiful. And one last question, just to keep it light.
Yeah.
Since we are almost honest, what is something almost honest you would want to say to anyone? Let's say an almost honest fact.
An almost honest fact.
Or almost honest, is there something almost honest you want to say to...
Okay, I just thought of something. Pwede
Okay.
na siya. Pwede na siyang...
We can cut this out. I'm just experimenting.
Swak na siya sa almost
Okay.
honest. Kasi like when we've been discussing about banning online gaming, or like during the POGOs, diba, regulating gambling, once in a while I'd have the chance to joke with my colleagues na, hindi kasi ako sugarol. I don't gamble. I don't gamble with money. But I gamble on other things.
I love that. I love that. We are gonna know what Senator Teresa gambles with and is going to be, ano na nga, all in.
All in, yeah.
Minsan ba pa all in ka?
All
All in. Sen, is
Yep.
there anything, where can we follow you? Where can we follow your journey and what you're
Okay.
doing?
Well, please follow, to Kylie's viewers, please follow Senator Risa Ontiveros on Facebook. And then for the account names on the other platforms, I'll just ask my comms to send them to you, because I,
think
haven't
it's Risa
memorized them.
Ontiveros.
Okay, Risa
I think
Ontiveros
I follow
something.
you, Sen. I'm
Okay,
like.
thank
I
you,
love this, what
Kylie.
you're doing in the Senate. But Sen Risa, thank you so much
Thanks so much too,
for being in the
Kylie.
podcast today. I appreciate all the work that you've done for the Philippines, for the Senate, for us women most especially, and thank you so much for being such a strong voice for us. And
Salamat.
I hope we get to work together soon. And we get to
Yeah.
work
On another bill.
on another
law.
bill, Sen.
Okay, let's
Thank you
do
so
that.
much.
Thank you.